from Chewelah, Washington, which is about an hour north of Spokane, and so we got here very, very late last night, about 2 a.m. It's kind of hard to get away from a farm, let me tell you something. I'm a breeder and trainer of Appaloosa sport horses. I breed them for jumping, dressage, all the Olympic type events, and right now our program is one of the top 2 in the nation, so it's taken a long time and an awful lot of hard work. And you know, honestly, that has been my passion ever since I was born, was horses. And you know, I was a horse fanatic ever since day one. And you know, the Lord has an interesting way of working in our lives, you know. every speaker that I've listened to today, I'm sitting there going, yep, that's right. It all funnels right down. Everybody's saying different aspects of the same truth, and how nice that we're all speaking the truth, because as far as I'm concerned, I am sick of being lied to. I am so sick of being lied to. The deception is outstanding. And so here I am, a horse trainer. I was not political. You know, gosh, my parents were semi-political, and I didn't come from that kind of a background. And you know, as my life went along, I went through college and spent 6 years in college. I studied 2 years of engineering, figured out that the math was way harder than I was ever going to be able to keep up with. And I wanted to be an aerospace engineer, so it was a sad defeat for me. But so then I went, well, I'm an animal lover. I've got to go to wildlife biology, you know. And so I was in there for 2 years studying wildlife biology. And then I went and talked to a good group of biologists, and they started telling me, okay, well, this is what you're going to do once you get out of college. And I find out, holy cow, I'm going to be working for minimum wage out in the middle of nowhere in Alaska tundra for 6 months at a time, and I've got horses and animals at home already. Who's going to take care of them, you know? So I had to cut that dream there after 2 years. So there's 4 years of college down the drain, right? And so then I decide, well, okay, I'm going to go for sociology, macro sociology. I really like that stuff. How cool. And so there I was in college for 2 years studying that, with my primary focus being on the Holocaust and eugenics, because my dad was a history teacher, and he's always, you know, teaching me history the whole time I was growing up, and I was particularly disturbed by the Holocaust. And so all my 20 and 30 page reports on eugenics and the Holocaust, you know, really added up to a complete picture of what had happened. And you know, I remember there was one picture in particular that was really disturbing to me, and I ran across it, even after all that research, I ran across it after I had my son, and he happened to be about the same size as this lady in this picture, who is standing naked with a whole bunch of other women who are standing there naked, holding their children. I'll try not to, that's still a toughie. Well, and in the one picture, they're standing there, and in the next picture, they're all shot. And I went, you know, how does a person get to that point? How does a person get to that point and resist? You don't. And I started thinking, you know, for that lady holding that little boy, she would have had to resist 5 years before then, you know, 150,000 minor steps before that point if she had wanted to prevent that from happening, right? Mm-hmm. And I went, you know, take that to heart, because prevention and adamant prevention can prevent, you know, this whole horrific scenario from ever happening again. And just like they always say, you learn your history so that the bad parts don't come up again. You don't repeat it. And so I really took that particular photograph to heart. I went, you know, if I ever see anything like that happening, I'm going to dig in. That's all there is to it. It just gets me. I've got a son. I think that was what really hit home, and I think that was God's way of saying, here it is. Start looking, and so I go through the 2 years of sociology. And then we go and buy a farm, which is 2 hours away from the university. And I went, oh, for crying out loud. Okay, so there's 6 years of all this full-time college. And I'm like, what a worthless education. All that time, and it absolutely got me nowhere. And so, anyway, so there we are, finally on a farm. I had, been working with horses ever since I was a little kid, and so it was my dream to pursue this, and my horse breeding and all the research I had done on horse bloodlines. I finally had it all pulled together in one place, and the farm isn't the best farm, but it took a lot of work, and it's coming around, and we really put our effort into it. Well, so there I am, and just happy as a clam, and all of a sudden this NACE thing pops up. The National Animal Identification System pops up. And I saw that on a flyer in the feed store in 2006, in February of 2006, and I just went, ah! God showed me, you watch out for this stuff. You pay attention, because the second you see it start creeping up, you don't want to end up at that pit standing naked, waiting to be shot. Mm-hmm. And that's really putting the cart before the horse, or you may think, but it's not in retrospect. If you're looking back from the event to where they could have started, that kind of puts it into a better perspective. So I went, yep, here it is, and I told God in my heart, if you ever need me, I'm here. And so that was kind of, I get choked up.
Right there.
That's how it is, and that's the truth.
Your education did serve you well, didn't it?
Yes, and it's very fascinating how the Lord works, I mean, it's like, wow, talk about bring all these components together, and it all fits together, because all my research studies, as it's unfolding, I'm sitting there going, I don't believe this. This is uncanny, And so anyway, I instantly basically dropped what I was doing. My whole love of the whole breeding program that I'd worked so hard my whole life to, finally get to the culmination point of, was suddenly threatened. I went, this is a fascist system. This is exactly what Stalin tried to do in Russia. This is, as I'm researching, they're following the exact blueprint that Stalin had to industrialize the food supply. And so, boy, did I dig in. I mean, for me to drop my horse focus and put my full-time attention, 8 to 10 hours a day, researching for stopanimалid.org, was astounding. Who can pull me away from horses, right? Well, that did. And the fact that I have a son and a husband, and these things that I care about, if I don't stop what I'm doing and start action right now, this very second, I could end up that way. And so could they. And so after 722 documents and articles that I posted for this website, and about 2 years later, by then we had introduced bills into the legislature that were anti-NACE bills, because this National Animal Identification System, like she said, is an RFID microchipping system where they want to chip every animal. Of course, they want to chip the people too. But what was a key point that was also interesting about that is that all the key players in the Holocaust are here again, and so that's another coordinating of information and knowledge, because like in the Holocaust, it was IBM that came up with the Hollerith cards to register the people, and it was